and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that loves to take their dates to the graveyard. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge, Season 39, Episode 11. I don't like to say this, but I think that this was one of my least favorite episodes of the season so far. To me, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I think that there was a lot of things that they're trying to establish for further storylines, for later in the game, for potential good drama, for potential good gameplay. But for this episode in particular, it was kind of mid for me. And I really don't like to say that, especially when I was looking forward to Laurel's episode, for her to come into the game, and I just thought it really fell flat. But let's go through the episode, see if that is an adequate assessment over this episode. So let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Kylan winning against Laurel, saving 10K in the prize fund, and Kylan gets to stay in the game. But there is little room to celebrate because TJ tells everybody to go back to the house, get changed, and meet him for a night challenge. So everybody goes back to the house, load up on carbs, don their challenge gear to meet up with TJ for more food in this week's challenge called Banquet of Champions. This daily challenge will be ran in teams of 4, and every team is going to have to run into a field, answer trivia questions by picking a crate that they think has the correct answer. The one crate with the wrong answer will be significantly heavier than the crate with the right answer. Then they're going to have to pick up the crate as a team, bring it back to their station, and they have to do that a couple of times to then get the codes to unlock their dishes. And the first team to eat all of their dishes wins into power and win into safety. The main caveat here is that each crate has the right code on it. So it really doesn't matter if you get the right crate or the wrong crate. It's just that the wrong crate is going to be really heavy and can be burdensome if you get too many incorrect answers. Now, before we get into this week's challenge, let's go over the teams. Team 1 has Colleen, Coriel, James, Mariah. Team 2 has Berna, Emmanuel, Horacio, and Zara. Team 3 has Asaf, Jay, Olivia, Raven. And Team 4 has Ed, Kylan, Michele, and Nurys. Now, my first critique of this challenge, I think, is more of a critique on myself and my hopes coming into the challenge after hearing the rules. Because when TJ originally announces the trivia questions, he says that they will all be champion-based trivia questions. And I was thinking, okay, there's no champions on this season. There's no real long-time vets on this season or on this cast as of right now. And with 38 seasons plus all the spin-offs that we just had, I was hoping as a challenge fan that these trivia questions would deal with the challenge and challenge champions to really test these new players and their challenge history. But of course, that wasn't the case. There was only one real challenge champion trivia question, and that was deciding who had the most challenge championships between Bananas and CT. The rest of the questions was like, who won Best Picture winner last year? Who was the World Cup champion winners last year? And then you have questions like who has the most Instagram followers between Cristiano Ronaldo and Kylie Jenner? As well as which planet is the largest in our solar system? Just because Jupiter is bigger and gassier, does that make it a champion of the planets? Getting into the actual challenge, Team 2 and Team 4 were crushing it. They do so well in 50-50 questions that they got every single question correct. Team 1 only got one question wrong, and Team 3 got every single question wrong. They sucked. Team 2 was able to get back to their station with all their crate codes, unlock their plates, and start to eat. Team 1, even though they got one question wrong, were the second to unlock their plates. Now, even though Team 2 had a little bit, tiny bit of a head start, they really slowed down when it came to eating. Now, some of the courses you may be asking, what did they eat? Well, one course was a boar snout and ear. Then there was brain soup, spicy surprise, which was like a glass of oil and a whole bunch of spices, and finally skin and colon stew. James has to be the MVP of Team 1 for the eating portion because he downed that brain stew like it was nothing. I feel like he ate it so quickly in the hopes that it would maybe sink in and give him more brains to be smarter in this game, but I highly doubt it. It was getting somewhat close, but Team 1 absolutely dominated. Colleen, Coriel, James, and Mariah are declared the winner, And then TJ tells them to go deliberate and nominate one woman to send into this week's elimination. Instantly, Raven's name gets brought up. Mariah tries to nip that in the bud, but she's outvoted 3-1. So when they come back, Coriel says that they nominate Raven, which Raven is upset. She calls out the group, mainly Mariah and Colleen, and then James gets involved, saying that he doesn't care who went in as long as it wasn't Zara. Raven then tells him that Zara's most likely going to be the house vote anyways. Then, as everybody's walking away, Raven tries to tell Coriel that he's at the bottom of the alliance. People still wanted to vote him into the elimination. This gets into a big shouting match that leads to basically nowhere. Now, coming back to the challenge house, it's daytime and everybody really just wants to sleep. And this is the point of the video where I'm going to jump around through different storylines, because just like all the past week's episodes, the whole talk about the house vote really did not matter at the end of the day because it was so plainly obvious, especially in this week's episode, because we'll see somebody actually volunteer themselves to go into the elimination instead of there actually being a house vote. So let's just jump into the Nurys and Horacio romance. So in this week's episode, we see a huge step up in their relationship. Nurys brings Horacio a smoothie. In return, he was going to give her some soccer lessons. Then later on at the ABC party, we see their first kiss on camera. And then later on in the night, they're hanging out with each other and things between them are getting serious. To the point where they're now talking about and making plans to hang out with each other after filming has wrapped. This is when Horacio has some really bad news. He is booked. The man has booked, he has a manager, he has things to accomplish because he is booked for 8 months after the filming of this show. He has way too many competitions going on, he has way too much stuff going on, and this is the end of the world for them, their relationship. My goodness, Nurys takes this information that he is going to be out for 8 months, filming, doing a whole bunch of different stuff, and Nurys goes to Olivia and is crying because it's just, the world can be so unkind to really, really attractive people. For 8 months, they can't see each other. Horacio has to go out and compete and be on TV and make bank. It's just not fair. Nurys even goes as far to say that, quote, love just isn't meant for me. Oh, why? You cruel world. Oh yeah, they are together, they are hanging out, they are dating in real life, so all of this was just so dramatic. To the point where even in this edit, 2 seconds later, they're hanging out in Horacio's room, cuddling with each other, basically saying, yeah, we're gonna make this work. So even though this storyline takes a good like 20 to 30 minutes to flesh out in between all the other stuff that they're trying to throw at you, it kind of wraps itself up in a bow that is so anticlimactic. Speaking of anticlimactic, let's get to the talks of this week's house vote. We have multiple conversations, spamming multiple people, talking about whether to vote in Berna or Zara. You have Kylan and Horacio that really want to vote in Berna because they really like Zara, and Horacio wants to keep Zara in the game because he wants to go up against the best later on in this game if they both make it into the final. Jay, Emmanuel, and Asaf want to vote in Zara because she is a really strong competitor that if she does make it to the final, could win this game. And we even hear more conversations at the ABC party where Michele, Olivia, Coriel, everybody is talking and giving Zara a heads up that, hey, we're gonna have to vote you in. You're really strong, you're not really part of our alliance, you're in the UK alliance, that's only 2 people now, and we're gonna have to do what's best for our game, so we're giving you a heads up that we're probably gonna vote you in as the house vote. Zara takes this information, decides that she's gonna prepare, that she's gonna be the one going into the elimination or be standing beside Raven, who she does talk to because she felt that Raven's outburst announcing it to everybody in the house that Zara will be the house vote regardless, that she felt that Raven was trying to drag her down too. We've seen them have a friendship over the course of the season, so they talk things out and they lock in as being each other's number ones. And they're going to be a tight duo moving on through the course of this season. We even hear from Michele, once the party has wrapped up, that she is freaking out. There's something inside of her. She has this intuition. She has this feeling, this spidey sense that Laurel will be the next champion brought in. And she is nervous because if Laurel pulls the chaos, she knows that Laurel has only eyes for Michele. So despite Michele being well insulated, she is shaking at the knees, having a classic Michele down, because she feels that Laurel will be coming in. Something that really doesn't help Berna's case in trying not to be the house vote is her walking around being the love police for everybody. So she comes into her room, she sees that Nurys and Horacio are cuddling up in bed, and Berna wants Nurys out. She basically kicks Nurys out of the room. Tonight she cannot deal with hearing noises, kissy noises, other noises at all. She doesn't want to hear it. She just wants to go to bed. So she kicks Nurys out. And then when she's, I guess, escorting Nurys to her room, or maybe getting a glass of water, she spies Emmanuel flirting with Raven in the doorway of Raven's room, and she grabs Emmanuel and sends him to his room, and Raven is furious. Raven and Nurys are in the same room, and they are complaining about Berna, and this is where the edit is really trying to push, hey, it could be Berna. People are going to want to say Berna. Even Mariah the next day is talking to Olivia and Michele and says that she talked to Horacio and he wants to say Berna instead of Zara. Michele and Olivia are like, what is he doing? Michele and Olivia are upset with him. Olivia is now questioning her own friendship with Horacio. Just last season, they were considered ride or dies. But this season, they're not even talking in the house. Horacio is spending too much time with Kylan, spending a lot of time with Nurys, and not really talking game or at all, it sounds like, with anybody else, which is now putting him on an island, and it's not looking good for him. I think this is foreshadowing that maybe people will be willing to want to say and vote Horacio in over and over again if he's going to continue pushing people away and staying at a distance. Once we get to the nomination, it does not matter what we've been hearing throughout the entire episode, because right at the very beginning, not even 2 minutes into this nomination, Zara raises her hand and says, I volunteer myself to go into the elimination. She was probably going to be the vote anyways, but she nominates herself and says that I want to go in. I want to prove myself. I want to prove to the house that I can go in, win against the champ, and that I am indeed the strongest in this game. Zara and Raven are nominated. They meet up with TJ. They're down on the arena floor waiting for TJ to bring in the next champ. And this champ is none other than Dr. Laurel. Laurel comes in with a big smile on her face, and she is staring directly at Michele. TJ says that if she picks the chaos poll, she can pick anybody but Mariah and Colleen to bring down to the arena floor. And Laurel basically calls out, I'm picking Michele. I'm picking Purple Jacket up there. And this was a funny back and forth between Michele and Laurel, where Michele is nervous. She's swaying back and forth. She's trying to make jokes with Laurel, being like, hey, we're gonna be friends one day, right? We're gonna make things up. I'm gonna send you some flowers. And that was like the best part of the episode, seeing Michele kind of like nervous and trying to make light of the situation, but you can tell that she is terrified. I mean, I think everybody would be terrified. I mean, going into an elimination against Laurel, her reputation is vicious, and I would never want to be down in the sand with Laurel. When Laurel pulls a poll for the draw, it is deemed Raven, so it'll be Laurel versus Raven in this week's elimination, called Chain Reaction. In this elimination, players are going to have to pull a chain to then get a code to unlock a box of different colored pegs. Now, the chain is colored in all different colors. They're going to have to match the pattern on the chain using the pegs and putting them in the holes. The first player that can recreate the pattern on their chain the quickest will win. If Laurel wins, she gets $10,000 and Raven is eliminated. If Raven wins, then she gets to stay in the game and probably get nominated on the next Women's Day. All right, another dose of honesty here. I understand that the challenge wants to make these eliminations with the champions as equal as possible. I understand that if you give Laurel balls in against anybody in this house, she will dominate. But at the same time, this felt like what a waste of bringing Laurel into the house to play a game of match the chain. I mean, all of these champion eliminations, I think that they're all a miss. You got roll around in a barrel to pick up a 5-piece puzzle. You have putting together a magnetic puzzle underneath water, counting stuff in crates. And then this elimination, this is just not fun, in my opinion. This makes me worried for the possibilities of the next coming eliminations with Cara and CT. I'm worried that they're gonna have like Spelling Eve 2 instead of something actually exciting and thrilling to watch. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't want to see Raven eliminated. She is on the outs of the US Alliance. She actually wants to play this game. She's a very strong competitor. So to me, I'm very happy that she got to win this and stay in this game. But when you think of bringing in heavy hitters like Laurel, I want something physical. I want something that I can feast my eyes on. As an audience member, I want action. But what we see is the biggest rivalry that Laurel has ever had, and that is putting pegs in holes. Laurel just didn't seem really that into it. The confessional right before going into the elimination, Laurel was just like, well, I just gotta see how this elimination goes, and whatever is thrown at me, I gotta just do, and hopefully I can wreck somebody's day, which doesn't sound like the ferocious Laurel of, I'm not going to show any mercy. That wasn't anywhere to be seen. And then once in the elimination, I think hearing Kylan, Jay, and other people helping Raven kind of threw Laurel off a little bit. At one point, she couldn't even find her last peg, and she was basically blaming production right away, saying, well, I can't find my last peg. It's not my fault. And then she finally turned over her crate to find it laying on the ground. And then she's putting in the peg. She gets a check. Wrong. She goes back and checks her chain, moves another peg. Wrong. Michele seems to be the only person trying to help Laurel win. But when Laurel heard what Michele had told her and she runs to try to go fix it, Raven finishes their puzzle, asks for a check, and gets this win. I actually believe that Raven and Laurel are on good terms. And even in the final confessional, Laurel says that she's heard that Raven has had a tough time in the house. Raven is a good competitor, wants to win, and kind of sees a little bit of Laurel in Raven from when Laurel's first couple of seasons happened and having to deal with house drama. And I feel like Laurel just didn't want to send Raven home. And maybe things would have been different and we would have seen the fire in Laurel if Michele was down there against her and somebody that she actually wanted to send home and somebody that she has a vendetta with instead of Raven, who she seemed to really like and really taken a liking to and knows from season 38. And it didn't seem like the Laurel from back in the day, but not to take anything away from Raven because she played the daggone game. She went in there. She didn't let anything get to her, didn't get as frazzled, and did the daggone thing and won this elimination. So congratulations to Raven. I'm glad she's still in the house. I'm glad she's gonna continue to compete, and hopefully she can take some of these US Alliance members that feel oh so comfortable in this game and put them in the hot seat a little bit. Again, not my favorite episode. It kind of just was like, to me, a lot of filler and not a whole lot else to do. And also, I didn't mention this during the challenge portion, but if this was the trivia challenge for this season, that is so disappointing. Like just picking 2 crates and bringing it to a station and that's all the trivia we get on this season. That's going to be pretty disappointing in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see if there is more trivia or not. Probably not. But that is it for this week's episode. What do you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Banquet of Champions challenge? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And what do you think about the winners and their decision of nominating Raven for elimination? Do you think it was the right move for Zara to nominate herself? Do you think she would have been the house vote? As well as what do you think about seeing Laurel again and the chain reaction elimination, as well as all the stuff with Horacio and Nurys' relationship and the Berna stuff? Just let me know anything and everything you feel about this season and this episode down in the comment section below. I want to hear what you have to say. And I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 39 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.